welcome to this wonderful Pacific Business Council Trade Expo at Waitakere City. Can I acknowledge first our hosts, Mayor Bob Harvey and Waitakere City Council, Gilbert Ulrich as head of the New Zealand Pacific Business Council and the Council. Can I acknowledge the New Zealand ministers here today, the Right Honourable Winston Peters, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honourable Lua Manaval Winnie Laban, Minister of Pacific Island Affairs and also patron of the New Zealand Pacific Business Council. Acknowledge parliamentary colleagues, Taito Philip Field, and then to all our distinguished guests from the Pacific. It's wonderful to have you with us, the Honourable Fred Savelli and Mrs Savelli, Prime Minister and Prime Minister's wife from Tonga. Malo, wonderful to see you here today. Also, the Honourable Misa Telefoni, Deputy Prime Minister of Samoa. Talofa lava, Misa, good to see you. And then we have a very old friend, the Honourable Saterapai Maoti, Deputy Prime Minister of the Cook Islands. Kia ora ana to you, Saterapai. We have the Honourable Minister of External Trade of New Caledonia joining us at the Expo. Bonjour. I understand we have ministers from Tonga also, ministers of Transport and of Labour. I understand we may have a Minister of Commerce from Norfolk Island as well, and we will have many other dignitaries and representatives of our Pacific nations, of our close friends. Can I also acknowledge Reverend Ministers, exhibitors, business people, Pacific friends, Pacific media, and everyone who's come to today's opening ceremony. Firstly, Gilbert, to you and your council, thank you for bringing this together. 2 years ago, you did it for the first time in the wonderful Telstra Pacific Centre at Manukau City. And can I acknowledge the work of both Manukau City and Waitakere City in building relationships with Pacific nations. You know, we can do so much at the level of government, but to have that reinforced by local government and by councils like Manukau and Waitakere with their big Pacific populations, I think that's really special and it adds to the whole relationship that New Zealand has with the Pacific. So Gilbert and the Pacific Business Council here in New Zealand have a rich network of contacts through the Pacific. So does New Zealand Trade and Enterprise. Combining all our efforts brings this great expo together here at Waitakere City. And can I thank all the sponsors, ANZ, the major sponsor, the other sponsors, our cities, also the Pacific Island Trade and Investment Commission, and everybody who's gotten behind to make this a success. You know, a lot has changed about modern trade and communications. Lots changed from the day when the trade was the sailing boat and we didn't have telephone communication with the Pacific. These days we've got email, we've got mobile phones, some places we can video conference, we can do business almost anywhere, anytime. But there's one thing that never changes, and this is especially important, I believe, in trade with the Pacific, and it's personal relationships and networking. And that's what this expo is about. It's bringing us face to face with each other so we know who we're dealing with, we build those relationships. That's why it is so important. Others have referred to how the Pacific, Te Moa Nui a Kiwa, is central to the Kiwi identity, because we're a Pacific nation in two senses. We're Pacific geographically, and we're Pacific because we're a peaceful nation. So we relate to the Pacific. And Pacific people are so much a part of the fabric of the identity of New Zealand. We have large Pacific communities. They make a big contribution to our economy, to our society, to our cultures here. We have people from the Pacific heritage in a cross-section of every occupation you could name in New Zealand, whether it's the professions or business, whether it's arts or culture, whether it's the backbone of the industrial workforce. Pacific people are very much part of us. And can I also mention the Pacific visitors we are now getting every summer and autumn season as part of the Regional Seasonal Employment Scheme. Very important scheme. And through this, we will see valuable remittance returns going back to the Pacific. I understand we'll reach about 5,000 seasonal workers this season. And when the Prime Minister of Vanuatu visited us just a couple of weeks ago, I learned then that the workers who come from Vanuatu this season to New Zealand will become the second biggest earners of foreign exchange for Vanuatu after tourism. That's how important the regional seasonal employment scheme is. And I know it is supporting our friends in Tonga, our friends in Samoa, and we are working hard, government to government, to ensure that the people of Kiribati and Tuvalu benefit in the same way as well, and then we can look at including others. There are so many ways in which New Zealand can support Pacific economic development. The remittances I've mentioned, there's development assistance, which can help build capacity, can help sustain rural livelihoods, can help with education and skills, can help support good governance, because that's important to strong economies too. We can encourage investment in the Pacific. But one of the most critical things to economic development is what is happening right here at this Expo and through the work of the Pacific Business Council and New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, and that is encouraging trade from the Pacific to New Zealand, enabling people to trade, to do business, to export into our country. And we're all aware that the two-way trade is very much in New Zealand's favour at the moment. The Pacific is a huge market for us. If we take it as one big market, it is the 6th largest trading partner New Zealand has, exporting $1.1 billion into the Pacific every year. The Pacific sends back to us $160 million worth, and that's why the two-way trade emphasis that Gilbert and his council have brought to this is so important. It's about building the capacity of the Pacific to export to us as well. The Pacific has so many resources. It has its forests, it has its minerals, it has its fisheries, it has its ability to grow almost anything, the finest foods and fruits in the world. It has its people. It has so much going for it. And what it needs is good and solid business and investment partners from friendly countries like New Zealand to make the very most of that. We have been working on how the Pacific comes into the world economy in a more forceful way. I acknowledge in the presence of the Deputy Prime Minister of Samoa that we are finalising the agreement between New Zealand and Samoa for Samoa to come into the World Trade Organisation. That will be important. We would like to engage our Pacific friends in talks for the Pacific Closer Economic Cooperation Agreement, an FTA with the Pacific. We think that would be helpful as well. And through that, we can give more official support to facilitating trade between the Pacific and New Zealand and encourage export-focused businesses in the Pacific as well. So there are many things government can do, but come back to this export forum. It's about business making a big contribution as well. We can have all the trade agreements we like in the world. If no one wants to walk through the door, they don't go anywhere. That's why the work of Pacific Business Council is just so important. Now, this is not just a trade expo. There's going to be workshops, seminars, a lot of discussion. Some of the issues you're looking at, we'll be talking about environmental solutions. How do we get electricity in the Pacific, for example, without the dependence on the fossil fuels like oil? How do we conserve resources? How do we better handle and dispose of waste and rubbish in the Pacific? How do we get sustainability? These are issues New Zealand is very interested in, and I hope we'll be able to bring some good ideas to the table as well. So thank you everyone who's made the Expo possible. Mayor Bob, your grand stadium has many uses, from trade expos to netball, World Cup and tournaments, to toddlers' days out. But this week it's the Pacific that's come to Waitakere City, and you're great hosts. And thank you to all our dignitaries for the Pacific for coming and making this Trade Expo a very special one for us. And I think in many ways it's already open, but can I, for the record, declare it officially open now? Thank you.
Me tahi mata, Madam Prime Minister. And the book, we have a little gift for the Prime Minister. It is titled Wakamoana, Voyages of Our Ancestors, Our Canoe, Our Sea, and our Pacific Ocean that joins us together. It also acknowledges that all Kiwis are of peoples in the Pacific too. The Honourable Dr. Feleti Vakauta Sevele. I am pleased to introduce the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Tonga, the Honourable Dr. Feleti Vakauta Sevele. Dr. Sevele was educated in Christchurch, New Zealand. In 1999, he was elected to Tonga's Legislative Assembly, and in 2005, he was appointed Minister for Labour, Commerce and Industries. We'll come back to the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Tonga. Right now, I know the Prime Minister and his wife would love to have a little listen to Marlene DeVoe. Before we call up the Honourable Prime Minister, Marlene DeVoe. Marlene, one of our brilliant stars. She's here. She is a New Zealand-born Samoan. And it's my pleasure to introduce Marlene DeVoe. She is 20 years old. She is a 20-year-old New Zealand-born Samoan who is currently undertaking postgraduate study in Italian and other languages. For the past 10 years, Marlene has studied opera, and this year is applying to attend the Juilliard School in New York in her pursuit of a career in opera. Marlene's first song for us today is Habanera from Bizet's opera Carmen. Her second song is an aria from Puccini's opera Giacchini Cicci, or Mio Babbino Caro. Marlene DeVoe.